William Shakespeare Introduction. William Shakespeare is often hailed as the greatest playwright in the English language and one of the most influential figures in world literature. His works have transcended time, language, and culture, earning him the title of the Bard of Avon. Born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, Shakespeare's life spanned just 52 years. Yet his legacy continues to shape literature, theatre, and even the English language. This is the story of his remarkable life. Early life and education. Williams. Shakespeare was born in April 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire, England. Although his exact birth date is not recorded, it is traditionally celebrated on April 23rd, which is also the date of his death in 1616. He was the third of 8 children born to John Shakespeare, a glovemaker and local businessman, and Mary Arden, the daughter of a wealthy landowning family. Shakespeare grew up in a modest but respected household. His father served as an alderman and bailiff, similar to a mayor, which would have provided William with access to quality education. It is widely believed that he attended the King's New School in Stratford, a grammar school where he would have studied Latin, rhetoric, history, and classical literature. This rigorous curriculum laid the foundation for his future writing career. There is no evidence that Shakespeare attended university, a fact sometimes used by skeptics who question the authorship of his works. However, many scholars argue that his broad knowledge and literary skill could have been acquired through self-study, exposure to performance, and practical experience. Marriage and family life. At the age of 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior, in November 1582. The couple's relationship has intrigued scholars for centuries due to the unusual haste of their marriage. Anne was already 3 months pregnant at the time. They had their first child, Susanna, in May 1583, followed by twins, Hamnet and Judith, in 1585. Little is known about Shakespeare's domestic life. Some believe that he spent much of his time in London, separated from his family, while Anne and the children remained in Stratford. This period of relative obscurity, between 1585 and 1592, is often referred to as the lost years. There is considerable speculation about what Shakespeare did during this time. Some suggest he worked as a teacher, a law clerk, or an actor, but no definitive evidence exists. Tragically, Shakespeare's only son, Hamnet, died in 1596 at the age of 11. The impact of this loss on Shakespeare is unknown, but some scholars believe it may have influenced the tone of his later works, particularly the themes of grief and mortality. The London theatre scene. By 1592, Shakespeare had established himself in London's theatre world. That year, a pamphlet by playwright Robert Greene referred to him as an upstart crow, a derogatory remark suggesting that Shakespeare, not formally educated like Greene and others, was gaining unwelcome popularity as a playwright. Ironically, this backhanded insult is one of the earliest known references to Shakespeare as a professional writer. The early 1590s were also marked by a plague outbreak, which caused the closure of London's theatres from 1592 to 1594. During this period, Shakespeare turned to poetry. He published 2 narrative poems, Venus and Adonis, 1593, and The Rape of Lucrece, 1594, both of which were well received and dedicated to Henry Wriothesley, the Earl of Southampton, a young nobleman and Shakespeare's early patron. When the theatres reopened, Shakespeare became a founding member of the Lord Chamberlain's Men, a prominent acting company, later known as the King's Men, under the patronage of King James the Mathan. The company performed at several venues, including the famous Globe Theatre, which was built in 1599, with investment from Shakespeare and other company members. The playwright and poet, between 1590 and 1613, Shakespeare wrote approximately 39 plays, 154 sonnets, and several long narrative poems. His body of work is traditionally divided into 4 genres: comedies, tragedies, histories, and romances, sometimes called the late plays. His early plays were mostly comedies and histories, such as The Two Gentlemen of Verona, A Midsummer, Knight's Dream, The Taming of the Shrew, and the Henry VI trilogy. These works already demonstrated his sharp wit, understanding of human nature, and mastery of dramatic structure. By the turn of the century, Shakespeare had begun writing his most famous tragedies, including Hamlet, 1601, Othello, 1603, King Lear, 1605, and Macbeth, 1606. These plays delve into the complexities of ambition, betrayal, madness, and fate, and are considered some of the most profound explorations of the human condition in any language. Alongside his tragedies, Shakespeare continued to write comedies, like Twelfth Night and As You Like It, blending humour with deeper themes of love, identity, and gender. In his later years, he turned to a new style, tragicomedies or romances, which combined elements of tragedy and redemption. Plays like The Tempest, Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale, and Pericles reflect a more reflective, spiritual outlook and often end in reconciliation and forgiveness. Shakespeare's language and style. Shakespeare's impact on the English language is immense. He coined or popularized thousands of words and expressions still in use today, such as break the ice, green-eyed monster, foregone conclusion, wild goose chase, and in a pickle. His mastery of metaphor, blank verse, and iambic pentameter gave his plays a rhythm and emotional depth that has captivated audiences for over 4 centuries. His sonnets, published in 1609, explore themes of love, beauty, time, and mortality, addressed to a mysterious young man as Dark Lady, and sometimes to the poet himself. The sonnets remain some of the most admired and analysed poems in the English literary tradition. Later years and retirement. By 1611, Shakespeare had largely retired from the London theatre scene and returned to Stratford. Though he continued to write, he likely spent more time managing his estate and enjoying the status of a wealthy gentleman. He had acquired New Place, one of the largest houses in Stratford, and other investments that ensured his financial security. In 1613, the Globe Theatre burned down during a performance of Henry VIII when a theatrical cannon misfired. Shakespeare's involvement in theatre declined after this event, and his final known collaborations, including The Two Noble Kinsmen, 1613, were co-written with playwright John Fletcher. William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, at the age of 52. He was buried in the chancel of Holy Trinity Church in Stratford. His tomb bears a famous epitaph, which he is believed to have written himself. Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones. Legacy and influence. Shakespeare's legacy is monumental. Within 7 years of his death, in 1623, 2 of his former colleagues, John Hemingers and Henry Condell, compiled and published the first folio, a collection of 36 of his plays. Without this effort, many of his works, including Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and The Tempest, might have been lost. Over the centuries, Shakespeare's plays have been performed more than those of any other playwright, they have been translated into every major language and adapted into countless films, operas, ballets, and novels. His characters, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Lady Macbeth, King Lear, have become archetypes embedded in global culture. In education, Shakespeare's works are a cornerstone of English literature curricula worldwide. His insights into human psychology, politics, love, and morality continue to resonate with each new generation. Controversies and authorship debate. Despite his towering reputation, Shakespeare has not been free from controversy. Since the 19th century, some have questioned whether he truly authored the works attributed to him. Alternative candidates proposed include Francis Bacon, Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford, and Christopher Marlowe. The authorship question stems from Shakespeare's relatively modest background, limited documented education, and the scarcity of personal records. However, most scholars agree that the evidence supports William Shakespeare of Stratford-upon-Avon as the true author. The idea that a genius must come from the elite classes is a reflection of elitism rather than fact. Conclusion. William Shakespeare's life was as fascinating and complex as the characters he created. From his modest beginnings in Stratford to the bustling theatres of London, he rose to become one of the most important and enduring writers in human history. Through his words, he captured the breadth of human emotion, the intricacies of power, the follies of love, and the shadow of death. His ability to write for both the common man and the educated elite, to blend poetry with plot, and to explore universal themes, ensures that his work will continue to inspire and enlighten for centuries to come. More than 4 centuries after his death, William Shakespeare remains not just a historical figure, but a living force in literature, theatre, and beyond. His legacy endures not merely in libraries and classrooms, but in the hearts and minds of people who continue to be moved by the magic of his words.